you.
It's something that's currently affecting millions of women around the world. So why is perimenopause still so misunderstood?
Yeah, so after several visits to the doctor and months of experiencing a range of debilitating symptoms, including brain fog, difficulty sleeping, mood swings and depression, it was an item on This Morning that helped Tanya Bardsley realise she was perimenopausal.
She's joining us now to share her story alongside GP and renowned menopause specialist Dr Louise Newson. Welcome to both of you.
Hello.
Hello. So, obviously, this morning...
Yeah, she saved my life.
You. So what was you doing? Was you just watching the TV?
Well, it was actually my mum that was watching it, and she was like, Tanya, you need to ring the GP again, because she watched Dr Louise, who said, I've been going to the GP... I went to the GP about 3 times.
Yeah.
I was suicidal. It was like Dr Evil had come into my body, and it was just taken over my body.
What are your symptoms
wasn't
like?
myself. Feeling worthless, suicidal thoughts. I've got ADHD, so that it just amplified my ADHD.
But when you got tested, everything seemed normal.
They said the bloods were fine, so GPs just say your bloods are fine and just sent me on my way. And I just thought I was going crazy. I went back 3 times I went to the GP. And then my mum was sat watching This Morning, and Dr Louise was doing a phone-in and said it doesn't matter about the bloods, it's just about the symptoms. So then, near me, I went and found there was a lovely lady called Dr Laura who just put me on HRT straight away, she said, and she just agreed with Dr Louise. And, yeah, it's completely saved my life. Thank you to This Morning.
It affected your life, didn't it?
Honestly, it took out... I was actually thinking of ways to take my own life.
Oh,
it was that
Tanya.
bad. I couldn't live like that anymore.
And Tanya, did it come along relatively quickly, those symptoms? Or, like, did you notice... Or did it, like you said, it was exacerbated by your ADHD, but did the symptoms happen quite quickly, or was it more sort of... You're getting a little...
It was just getting more and more intense. But at first, I thought it was because I had ADHD, I thought it was because I was drinking too much. So then I took all the steps, stopped drinking. And after 4 months of not drinking, I thought, well, I still don't feel how I should. I mean, my skin was better, saved loads of money, and I didn't feel as, like, suicidal anymore. So it did help massively. Yeah. But I still just had no motivation to live.
Yeah.
Like, everything was hard, and yeah, it's just awful. And especially I've got 4 children, all at different varying stages of their hormones. It just affects the whole family.
And just out of interest, how quickly did it work once you started taking HRT? How quickly did you feel better?
I would say, like, in 3 days.
Within 3 days?
Felt... I don't know whether it was just in my mind or what, but, yeah, it was literally... It was that quick.
OK.
Dr Louise, what's the... Thank you, firstly. The difference in symptoms between perimenopause and menopause, can you talk us through the difference?
It's actually the same, and actually they're the same symptoms often that happen with PMS, PMDD, that time before periods. And all it is hormonal fluctuations. So our brain produces estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, as do our ovaries. But what's happened historically is we've always talked about a woman's periods. Does she have periods or not? Therefore, is she menopausal or not? Because, as you know, you have to be a year without your periods to officially have that menopause badge. But actually, perimenopause can last 10 years or so before periods stop, because our hormones start to change. And our brains like things constant. You know, if we get hangry, a bit hungry and angry, our brain doesn't like it because we've not been fed. The same with our hormones when we've got fluctuations or low levels, but it also affects other chemicals in our brains like dopamine, serotonin. So often people have quite awful thoughts, and we know the commonest symptoms are the symptoms affecting our brains. So brain fog, low mood, anxiety. Often people get really intrusive, very dark thoughts, and although they know often that they don't want to act on them, it's quite different to clinical depression. People do have insights, but it's really scary. Like you say, it's like your brain's been taken over by someone else, but it's not working the same because it doesn't have those hormonal chemicals in the brain.
Yeah.
And the fact that it doesn't show up in your bloods either.
Yeah, and that makes you feel like you're going crazy.
You think that no one's listening. So why is it not picked up?
Well, the hormone levels change all the time. So if you had your hormone blood test done every hour, there would be some changes. And that's why it's really important that you don't use a blood test to make the diagnosis. If the blood test is abnormal, it can be useful. But actually, normally, it's giving women enough information. So if you have the right information, you can say, right, I'm having all these symptoms. Is there anything else in my life that might have triggered it? And we know things like ADHD can worsen, definitely when you've got this chaos of hormones going on. So often in medicine, we don't always need a blood test, you know. We can make a diagnosis from a really good history. You know, if someone has migraine, for example, or clinical depression, we take a good story and then we say, well, look, I'm going to try this treatment for 3 months and see if it helps. If it doesn't, we'll change the treatment or we'll think of another diagnosis. But actually, often when women have the information, the first thing I'll often say to people is, do you think any of these symptoms could be related to your hormones? And if that person's saying yes, we need to be taking that forward. Because as you know, hormones are really safe. We're just topping up. And in perimenopause, we start with a low dose and then gradually increase.
I was going to say, so HRT works pretty well with perimenopause.
It usually does. It's about the right dose and types. Because of the 3 hormones, they all work differently. So sometimes people might have tried maybe just a low dose of one hormone or estrogen and progesterone, and it might be the testosterone. So it's making sure that it's tailored to that individual.
It must be so lovely to see that you help so many people, Dr Louise. How does it actually feel?
Do you know what? It feels very humbling, and a lot of my work, you know, through the app, through the website, through my podcast, is reaching people that I'll never meet. But I've just come back from Abu Dhabi lecturing there, and people were in tears meeting me because they said I've literally helped their lives. But it's lovely. But, you know, there's 1.2 billion menopausal women. Globally, 5% receive hormones. You know, so I spend a lot of my time worrying about what I'm not doing rather than gloating on what I am doing.
Like my sister went to the GP just last week and they just said, oh, your bloods are fine, and sent her on her way.
Was you like, here's Louise?
Yeah. And but the average woman can't afford to go and seek someone private, so they're all suffering. And the first time I went to the GP, I wasn't even given a blood test. I was just told I was too young for perimenopause. It's not that. And they suggested, oh, would you like an antidepressant? Well, it's not that, and it's just hormones. And with my undiagnosed ADHD, I've always been given antidepressants, and they numbed me, and they're so bad. They were so bad for me. So it's quite scary.
Thank you for coming in, sharing your story.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you always.
For having me.
Thank you, Dr Louise.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.